Welcome back to the Elevate Your Running podcast. This is Coach Sarah, and today I want to talk all about how to tell if a workout was a success. Now, I've recorded an episode on how to know if your training is working, and I think that's very valuable. But the workouts are such a big component to the training when we are going after goals, when we are trying to break through plateaus, when we are trying to get faster. And yes, there is an incorrect way to run a workout. And I see it all the time. I see a variety of different workouts run every given day of every given week. Considering that the Elevate team has a training schedule that's built all around them and when they can run workouts and when they need rest days and when they need their long run day. So on any given day, we have a team member running a workout and it's either, the intention was there. I call it winning the day, winning the run, or there was maybe, something a bit off, whether the workout was a bit too fast, or maybe the workout was a bit too slow, or maybe the athlete got in their head a little bit and couldn't complete it. So I'm really excited about this episode because it's definitely at the core of coaching. And I think we can all learn about what is a successful workout. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What are some signs and cues that we need to be looking for when we are running workouts to know that, yes, we have checked the box. We have, won the day, quote unquote, won the day, so to speak, and be able to move forward with curiosity and confidence. So maybe you finished a workout feeling totally wiped out. I've been there and wondered, like, did that even do anything? Or did I just dig myself into a really big hole? Maybe you've had those workouts where you've crushed every single interval. You have felt amazing and you still question if you did it right. This happens all the time in Final Surge where I'm getting feedback from an athlete where they're feeling like the tone is like negative or like I didn't do it. And I'm like, I literally have to respond and say, did you look back on what you did? And if so, I want to hear your feedback before I give you my feedback. Because if you look back on reps and intervals and see that you're within the pace ranges prescribed, that's a big, big winning the run. That's a huge, huge, huge day. The truth is that a successful workout isn't only just about speed, right? It's not just about the distance. Maybe you're running a longer tempo. And it's not about how hard you've pushed. I have seen this time after time after time where athletes push themselves into the ground and they're not running on effort. They're trying to hit pace. Maybe there's a lot of stress going on in their lives at the same time. So pace feels a lot harder and it just turns that workout upside down. Running workouts well is all about hitting the right goals for the day, and that's winning the run. And it's also learning about your body, and it's also setting you up for success, not just at this training season, but in future training seasons as you can continue to develop and evolve as a runner, as an athlete, as you continue to get faster, as you continue to break through your plateaus and PR and go after your big dreams and that North Star that we're all chasing, that end all be all. This is quote unquote, when I'll retire from racing type of run. Not all of your training needs to be like at blown away paces. That's going to be something I emphasize all throughout this entire episode. So today I'm breaking down exactly how to know whether a workout was a success. There's no guesswork. There's no ego. It is just smart training. So pillar number one, we're going to start with the right mindset. This is a huge piece to running a workout well. If you are not feeling confident, if you are not feeling excited, if you're not feeling up for the challenge, if you're telling yourself that it's going to be hard, if you're telling yourself you just can't do it before you even start, well, you're right. I mean, the mind is so strong. It's arguably stronger than the fitness that we create in training. So if you're already in that mindset, you're not going to win the day. It will not happen. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I have seen athletes on both sides of that. I have gone into workouts with this mindset and it was a tough day. And I made it tough. I made it tough because I told myself I couldn't do it. I remember I had 8 by 1K at 5K down to like 3K pace for a workout that I had 2 years ago going into the Cherry Blossom 10-mile race. And before I even got to the track that day, I was like, this workout is too long. Ks are my least favorite distance to race. I don't want to do this. And I was already telling myself I wasn't going to do it. What happened? Well, I ended up starting out strong, but after about the third rep, I thought, oh gosh, I think I'm running a little too fast. So I'm going to pull back. And then I just had this very like, quote unquote, like mediocre 8 by K workout. I completed all the reps, but I was on this 3 rep trajectory of just getting faster and stronger. And my coach was there and she was like, yes, let's keep doing this. And I totally got in my head about like, can I keep up this pace for 5 by K more with very little recovery in between? It's so wild. The key idea with having the right mindset is knowing that a workout success isn't just about speed or distance or pushing through quote unquote the pain. I've seen athletes do that too, whether it's like physical pain or they have an injury or a niggle that they're pushing through. Success is alignment with your goal. Success is the execution of the plan, and it's learning what works for you going into that workout as well as future workouts. So I think it's super important to make sure that you understand what the goal is for the workout. Typically, anytime that we're running workouts for 5K, 10K races, those are going to be very specific workouts to develop your VO2 max as well as your threshold. So maybe you have a threshold workout, maybe you have a VO2 max workout. It should be indicated specifically for a threshold workout to stay very close within a range of paces and what the design of that workout is for. VO2 max workouts are going to be sharp. They're going to be fast. They are going to burn. Your lungs are going to be burning. Your legs are going to be burning. It is time to prepare and have the right mindset going into that workout, knowing it is going to be tough, but you will 100% get through it with each rep. Just staying present with each rep is super, super important. Now, if we're looking on the flip side, let's say half marathon, marathon workouts, those could incorporate some speed workouts, but typically you're focusing on more either threshold or goal pace work. So it could be longer tempos and it could be staying well within your wheelhouse. So you really want to start with the right mindset and knowing exactly what you're doing. So I've had athletes come to me after having like slow runs and they think that they've failed, but they've actually hit every goal for that day because they were able to do exactly what was prescribed for them. It's perhaps having that right mindset also includes perhaps making sure that the expectations of what is written in your plan is also very aligned with your expectations as athletes, right? Making sure that there isn't too much of a gap between what we are doing today versus where you want to be later, because that's going to be a huge gap. And anytime I talk about expectations, and this is true in real life too, I am someone who has like very high expectations in everything that I do, which sometimes leads to a really big gap between reality and expectation. It has to come together for you to feel like you not only crushed the goal, but you were able to say to yourself, okay, we checkmarked that day. I was able to get through this. I did what I was supposed to do for this day and continue on. It's all about having the right mindset. I think showing up curious is a huge needle mover. I think showing up and being confident. And how do you show up being confident for a workout? You replay all the other workouts that have proved to yourself that you were able to do it. I ran 5 by a K ish last week. I guess it wasn't that. It was actually 2 by a K at threshold, 4 by a K at 5K pace. And then I did like 4 by 1 minute fast on the road. And I did the 2 by a K at threshold on this new loop to me in Boulder. And I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. This is how threshold should feel. Really short recovery in between reps. I felt really smooth and really good. But I knew that this route that I was running was, it was a K loop and it started downhill. And then it kind of went on this slight incline to then a slight down to flat to finish the K loop. And if you're running 5K race pace at altitude on a hill or any incline, sometimes it just hits different and it hits really hard and it feels hard. And sometimes you can fall off pace real fast and you can fall off pace by a lot. And so every single time I started the workout, I am serious right now. I got ready. I did like this 5-second jogging start and out loud, and there were other people around me, out loud, I was like, you can do this. And I like went and did it. And I had one of the best K workouts of my life. I felt smooth. I felt controlled. I was so present. I was running a little bit under 5K race pace, like by 5 to 10 seconds. I was recovering within 75 to 90 seconds. It was a great workout. And it all started with having the right mindset. I was curious. I told myself that I could do it. I was open to the possibility and I stayed really focused within each rep. I wasn't in rep 1 thinking of rep 4 or how in the heck am I going to get through rep 4. I was like, you just need to get up this incline and not lose pace. And I ended up running strong and confident. And it was a really good feeling taking me into, a new season of training. It is a balancing act to make sure that you're getting enough stimulus too with all of your workouts and making sure you're not overrunning and imbalancing between stress, intensity, and recovery. So, overrunning intervals isn't what we're looking for right now. We're really trying to stay focused in with the alignment of the goal, the alignment of the workout, having that right mindset. And so, just because in that example I just gave, I was so confident going into that K. It wasn't like, I'm going to drop 20 seconds off of these, which I probably could have, but it probably would have put me in a hole. And it probably, well, I know for certain, anytime you overrun a workout, it's not going to actually give you any more fitness than if you just stay within the confines of how the workout is written. And right now, I have coaching access on demand with myself. So I get to coach myself as I go through these workouts and how I want to show up and what I can do. And that's a lot of fun too. But having, the right mindset, a strong mindset, aligning with your goal is going to be like the best thing that you can do. If you're going to take one thing away from this episode, and I realize it's only the first thing that we're talking about, having the right mindset going into the workout is going to help you tenfold. Something I shared with an athlete last week was just, this is more about consistency, but it does apply to the workout. I offered a suggestion for him to like lay out his running clothes the night before. And we're trying to get it back into a habit of consistency and running consistent. And that is a tip that helps. Like when you have everything ready to go, it's a little bit easier to get out of bed knowing like I have everything ready to go. Literally just have to drink a few sips of coffee and put on my running clothes and leave and get it done. I think also on those days that you're not feeling as motivated, or sometimes with workout days, wear like your best run kit. Look good, feel good. Like if you're having any doubts about the workout, put on like that bright pink top or like your favorite run tights or your favorite shorts. Like do something that's going to give you that little extra boost of confidence as you go into your workout. Now, the second pillar is using objective metrics. I think this is super important. Metrics are super helpful, but it depends for everyone. So let's remember that. And it's not going to be the end all be all to everyone and everything. So everyone's going to be very, very, very different. So here's some metrics to kind of look at. Absolutely, you can run on pace. I think pace is helpful a lot of the time, especially if you are feeling like you're really consistent, you're running workouts well, you have a good idea of what pace feels like. I practiced my half marathon pace so much over the last 2 years that now I can't not run that pace. It's just like, it is just so dialed into me. And that's a really interesting place to be anytime I'm in tempo. Heart rate is a good metric that you could base some of your workouts on, but heart rate's tricky because you have to be wearing a heart rate monitor. I don't want to hear anyone saying anything about a heart rate based off of their wrist monitor, because we know time and time and time and time again that the wrist monitor does not work. I don't care if it's giving you 3 months of data. It's all garbage. So using a heart rate monitor is great. There's heart rate straps, there's arm straps, but then you have to develop your own heart rate zones. You can't let Garmin or Coros decide them for you. You have to create them yourself based on max heart rate and developing your 5 zones through your heart rate strap. And you can run a few workouts to kind of find out what that is. You can also run a 5K race. Hard, like a true hard 5K race, not tempoing the 5K, but like racing a 5K. Another data metric or using objective measures is the completion of a workout structure. So I think this is really important. Like, did you hit all of the intervals that were prescribed? Did you maintain pace on your hill repeats? Did you maintain effort in a tempo? Were you recovered enough during the recovery span that was given? Or did you need more recovery? Did you need less recovery? That's all really good feedback. Running the workout that I did last week and saying that I was ready to go, I think I did a 2-minute recovery between the Ks at 5K pace, but I was ready to go at like 75, 80 seconds. And, going into, I think at the time this is recorded, I have run a second 5K this year. That's a really good indication, like that you're recovering through those intervals and you're ready to go again in a short amount of time. So all of that comes into play when we're looking at the workout. How well did you run the workout? Were you able to do all the things that I just mentioned? Or were you hitting pace during an interval and then falling off? Were you running a hill repeat and slow to start, but then you kind of found your speed at the end of it, but overall the overall average was quite a bit slower than what we were looking for. Even though hills are run on effort, there is still kind of a pacing component that at least I think coaches look at. We don't talk about that with athletes, but that is something that flows through our mind when we're looking at hill workouts. Maintained effort. How was your effort maintained? Are you a metronome and just clicking off paces and staying really consistent? Or are you kind of jumping around? Looking at pace charts as a coach, it's very clear who has who is constantly ebbing and flowing in like a tempo run versus someone that's just running like even Steven and just so smooth in their effort. So that's all part of it. Now, is this going to make or break the workout if you say, but Coach Sarah, I hit the time indicated, maybe my tempo effort was all over the place and it looked like an EKG chart, which some of them do, which means like a lot of peaks and valleys, right? It's just like do, 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 do. But when the interval clicked over, I was still well within what you targeted. That is true, right? So yes, you did do essentially what was asked, and underneath it, it is then something that can be improved and worked on over time, of just more of that sustained easy effort where you're just seeing more of like a flat line across your tempo efforts, because that style of running uses less energy than the athlete who's constantly flowing up and down, up and down, up and down. They're getting faster, they're slowing down. That takes a lot of energy. And if you're doing that in a race, it's going to be a lot harder to produce what you want to produce, especially in the last few miles of that race, because you've just kind of yo-yoed your way through the race. Same is very true when you're racing and you're going around people. It's something I don't recommend in marathons until after the first 10K, because it uses so much energy and it's still in the first few miles of the race. So like, there's still a lot to go, and you can make up a lot of time if you don't use that energy in the first 10K, but you use it in the last 10K. I also love looking at form or effort consistency. So, are you running relaxed or are you breaking down? Now, this is going to be something that's a bit more in person for a coach athlete, and it's going to be something that's more in tune with your body as an athlete. So, as you start running your interval, how does your form look? Now, you could take video, you could kind of like self assess as you're running. Like, how does your form feel? How does it look? Are you running relaxed? Are your shoulders down? I know like my like jaw gets really tight when I'm really working hard at like the end of a longer effort. And so I have been really working on over the last few months of really relaxing that, especially like in the Houston 5K. It's like let the jaw relax, let the shoulders relax, really use your arms to help power that cadence to get through the last few minutes of this harder effort. So it's being in tune with your body. Now, are you breaking down? That could mean you're noticing that your knee is hitting your other knee when you're coming through the stride. It could be that you're noticing that your arms are just all over the place, and you're noticing that they aren't like this clean and crisp forward and backward. It could mean that you're noticing your hip drop. This could mean that maybe you're taking video of yourself throughout the entire workout. I feel like a lot of people do that these days for content reasons or not, but you could take a look and say like, hey, I noticed this is how I look at the beginning of a workout, but whoa, this is how I look at the end of the workout. Or I do notice these other things that I just mentioned. And that's how you know you're breaking down. Maybe you have someone take a video of you at the end of a race. I think that's a really good way to understand when you're under extreme fatigue. How does your running form look? I think it's a bit more advanced for some runners because you are under extreme fatigue. I was lucky enough to have someone take a video of me at the very end of the Indianapolis Marathon. It was right around mile 26. And Laura took that video. We also found each other on the course of Chicago and ran a few miles together. And I remember when she sent me the video, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is mile 26 and this is how I look. Like everything looked how it looked or how I thought it looked at mile 5, right? You know, like everything was kind of in tune. I still looked really strong. At that point, I was pushing it towards the end. And that's what you want to see. And also, if you're noticing your body breaking down, there's two things that you can do. One is going to be get into the gym, do your strength training, do your PT exercises, get your balance work in, get your resistance band workouts in, get the hip strengthening exercises in, make sure you're activating your glutes before you go out for runs. That's going to make a huge, huge, huge difference. And the other part of it is time. Unfortunately, it's like, patience and endurance running. It's going to be the same thing that over time, your running form is going to just continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's one of the coolest things about running is that over time, if you are consistent, you do see noticeable gains that maybe other people wouldn't necessarily notice because they're just so true to you and very specific to you. Now, the other thing that we want to look at is effort. Ooh, how did it feel versus the time or paces that were prescribed? This is a big one. Okay, now if you are an athlete that I coach, you are probably smiling, laughing, or rolling your eyes right now because this is the question I ask the most every single day of my life. How did it feel? If I'm not getting that feedback in Final Surge, I am going to be asking it because I don't care what the data shows. I know that athletes can hit paces no matter what pace is there for the most part, right? All within the wheelhouse of that athlete. What I want to know is how did it feel? Like if I'm prescribing tempo effort and it felt like 5K effort, that's a big red flag that I need to know because either you're going through a cumulative fatigue stage where like your body's just not able, it's adjusting to training and it's not able to produce kind of the paces that we're wanting to. Hormones, stress could also be a factor in it, or it could be recovery. It could be poor sleep. There's so many different things that go into it that I can't see on my side, but it's really feedback from an athlete. So I think it's really important as an athlete that when you go into these workouts, that you are really honest with the effort and what needs to be for that day. And, of course I get a lot of athletes who say like, but I don't know what effort should feel like. And it's like, well, that does come with time too. But, 7 out of 10, which is more of that tempo RPE, should really feel comfortably hard. You should feel a little breathy at the end of it. That's part of it. A stressful day or two, a stressful week or two, especially right now with everything going on outside of running in this country and in this world, it could make running feel harder. It could make workouts feel harder. That is normal. What you can do is adjust down. You can throw out the paces out the window. You can adjust the intervals down. You can say, I'm not running this today because you got halfway through it and you're like, this is just too hard. And you kind of bump through like the workout, and maybe that workout gets recycled for next week if you're working with a coach, or even just if you're self-coached. But maybe it's a workout that you decide to wait a few weeks and tackle it when things start to calm down a little bit more. It all kind of depends. There's so many different things that can go on, but the RPE is so important to understand what you're doing, how it feels, and throwing out the paces if things start to feel too hard. Now, the first rep or two, I always say, is probably going to feel hard. I think that's normal, especially as we just start like warming up into the workout. So I wouldn't judge it then unless it's like drastically different. Like I've had Ks where I'm supposed to be running like half marathon Ks, like 2 by a K at half marathon pace to warm up before like a bigger workout. And I'm like, oh God, this feels like 5K today. And then you just got to see how the first few reps of the meatier part of the workout feel before you kind of decide what you're going to do, because sometimes it just takes a while to warm up. I am someone who takes a long time to warm up. I coach a lot of athletes who are like that too. So a lot of this is also just knowing too how you are as an athlete and how you show up in workouts and what you kind of need most from them to get the most out of yourself. So I think one of the most important things is taking like objective and subjective metrics for feedback. So we have some data, or we have data, and then we also have, well, how did it feel? How did your legs feel? How did your lungs feel? And what was going up between your two ears? What was going on in your head as you were running those reps? Were you in self-doubt? Were you questioning yourself? Were you relaxed? Were you focused? What was going on? That's all so major. So getting into subjective signs, which is pillar number 3, some like feelings definitely matter. Feelings are a lot of running. I wish running was more straightforward, but feelings and stress all do kind of play a big part into running. And that's probably the hardest part of my job, is like deciphering like what athletes tell me and how to kind of read between the lines if it's not clear, or if it's not clear communication of exactly what's going on, because sometimes they don't know either, right? Especially as a newer runner, you don't know. So some subjective signs or questions you could ask yourself is, did you feel strong and controlled during key segments, during the key part of the workout after you warmed up? Or were you flailing and just out of control and like running too fast and then trying to slow down? And, was it just a bit more chaotic? How was your mental focus during the session, right? Like what was going on in your head when you were running these intervals? Like I mentioned in the workout from last week, I was so focused and present. And I think I do really well on longer loops, like a K loop versus like a loop on a track. And I segmented out based on the turns. And this K loop had more turns on it than it just kind of broke up the K a bit. So I think I had 4 turns in a K. So I just took it each chunk before I made the next turn. And I think that was something that really helped me stay focused. I micro chunked out the loop versus saying like, oh, I'm going to be running for 4 minutes or 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So like, that's just what it is. No, I took it like literally 20 seconds at a time before I like re-engaged into like staying focused on, okay, the next 20 seconds or the next 30 seconds. Did you learn something about your pacing, your fatigue, or your nutrition? I can always tell if I underfueled yesterday, or if I do a high talking day. Like there's some days where I just talk all day, whether it's like I'm on coaching calls and I'm talking through a lot of different things, or I'm recording podcasts, or like this week I have 4 podcasts total with mine and being on guests of others. So it's just a lot of talking. Group coaching, there's a lot of talking. And I can tell because I'm like dehydrated the next day because I'm not drinking my water and I'm not drinking my element with my water and like things like that. Well, how's the fatigue? How's the mental fatigue? How's the physical fatigue? And then also, how was your pacing? Did you notice that you weren't focused until you like dialed in and locked in? Or were you locked in the entire time? So much so that you didn't see that dog wearing like ski goggles next to you, which may or may not have happened last week. Did you chunk up the longer effort to make it manageable, the micro chunk? It's a huge, huge, huge piece to the workout is the micro chunk. That's also true in racing. It's key. I paced a lady in Denver a few weeks ago for a 5K time trial. And one of the things that she gave me feedback on after we finished, which she ran a 45-second PR. It was wild. We're so close to her like overall PR. She has 2 small kids, and it's been really inspiring to see her not just transform as a runner from the time that I started working with her, but also like her grit and determination when we were running that 5K time trial. And she said the thing that helped her the most was that we micro chunked out, or I was micro chunking out the course for her. And I was saying, like, let's just get to the garbage can. When we were running up hills, after when we were halfway up the hill, I was like, we have halfway to go. Just hang on to me. Let's get to that stop sign. And it made it so much easier for her to compartmentalize the pain that she was in, to be like, I just have to get to the stop sign. And now I just have to get to the porta potty. And now I just have to get to the garbage can, versus thinking, oh my gosh, I have 2K left, or I have over a mile left. How in the heck am I going to do this? Micro chunking helps so much. Recovery is part of success. This is pillar number 4. So a workout is only successful, truly, truly successful, if you can recover and adapt. So how did you feel the next day? If you are feeling trash, yikes. You probably overran the workout, or you did a really poor job of recovery after with nutrition, hydration, and sleep. If you're feeling pretty poppy and feeling pretty good, you probably did an excellent job recovering, or the workout wasn't designed to make you feel really tired or fatigued. Some workouts are like that. Some are going to hit a little bit harder. It kind of depends on you as an athlete and what you adapt to, and what your body prefers the most. Are you feeling it in your energy levels? Are you feeling it in your muscles? Those are all big questions to ask. I know for a lot of the last 3 years, anytime I ran a workout on Wednesday, I would run like a double on Wednesday night, and I usually felt pretty good for that double. But then Thursday rolled around and I felt like trash. I think some of it was the workouts were really long and they were usually really hard. But I think on top of it, my Wednesdays as a full-time coach and business owner is very, very busy. And I drive to Denver to coach on Wednesdays, as well as keep up with athlete comments, writing training plans, social media, podcasting. So I think my Wednesday in of itself was just a harder day to recover from, because there was just so much going on, starting from an early workout all the way up until, getting home at like 9 o'clock at night. I'm either running or standing from 5 to 9, or from 5 to 8 until I get into my car. And that can be really tough. So I think kind of assessing your day and what makes sense. And, do you need to move that workout maybe to a different day? So that's what I've done. My workouts are on Tuesdays now, and it's definitely better than trying to do that on a Wednesday morning and then have a full day of coaching and athlete calls and feedback and communication and podcasting or editing or whatever. There's a lot of other things that go into it, but and then driving to Denver, sitting in traffic, you're kind of stressed from that. And then going into coaching 20 plus people for a few hours at a time, it's a lot. So adjusting that has helped me a lot. So if you find yourself in that window, adjust and see if that makes all the difference. Or See if you can adjust sleep. See if you can adjust your nutrition. Sometimes being able to take in nutrition right after a workout is one of the best ways to feel better the next day. Ooh. Okay. Number 5, look at the big picture. So we want to see patterns over time, not just one single workout. So we want to focus on weekly or monthly or even cycle trends to tell you if the training is working. Literally yesterday, I was thinking about this on a run where I have an athlete who ebbs and flows in training, and there's some workouts that are run super strong. And then I think a lot of confidence is built, but then every day out of the week is just a fast day. And that's not really the point because that's going to seep in, and it always does. And it creeps up. And then all of a sudden, that athlete's kind of in a hole, and then they can't pull themselves out of it. And then the workouts are flat, and then they just don't feel good. And it's like this cycle that keeps happening. And I think it's so important to take a look over time on what's happening, whether you're a coach or an athlete who's a self coach. Like, take a look how you show up. What are you doing well when the training's working? And what are you also doing when the training's not working? You do want to focus on consistency, adaptation, and avoiding injury. We all do. So I think making sure that, like, you're looking at the trends, making sure that, like, when you are nailing those workouts and you're getting super confident from them, you're keeping your easy days easy. So you are setting yourself up for success for that next long run or that next workout. Because if you decide to run everything super hard, then it's going to be a lot harder to recover, and it's eventually going to creep up, and you're going to see it in your training. So I think it's also really important to not, like, let's say there's a workout where you're like, oh my gosh, that was so tough. And I really didn't hit pace, or I hit like the very slow end of the interval pace. And that was just so hard. I don't even know how I did that. I don't even know how I got through that. So that happens, right? I think one bad workout or a few workouts that would be considered quote unquote bad to the athlete, never to the coach, but to the athlete, isn't a failure. You know, it's like it wasn't wasted. Sometimes it just doesn't align, whether it's the training or whether it's recovery or whether it's life stress, but it's all part of it, right? Like, we do have to have those workouts that humble us. We do have to have those workouts that show us that it's not just going to be sunshine and rainbows every single week when we get on the track or we get on the roads, because racing isn't that way. And we have to be able to adapt and flow through, because what if something like that happens on race day? Are you just going to throw your race out the window? Races don't come along that often. So I think it's really important to remember the rule of thirds, that there's going to be a third of your workouts that feel really good. There's going to be a third that feel beige or okay. And there's going to be a third, or hopefully a little bit under, that are just kind of like, let's move on. I think one of the most important things when you have a workout like this, where you're just like, oh, that wasn't great, is to stay grounded in it. It is part of it. It's normal. I think if it continues to happen, that's not normal. There's probably something going on. But every now and again, it's really important to stay grounded because it's normal. And rather than like catastrophizing the workout or the training cycle, or I had one bad workout there, therefore that means I cannot race at race pace that's in 12 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now. Like, no. I've had athletes before like really try and give up their race because they had one bad workout. I'm like, no, this is a sign that the training's working, actually, because you need to have the variance. It can't just be that you are executing everything flawlessly, because that's not good training. That is like, you're not getting the most out of yourself in training if you have training cycles like that. So a few common misconceptions to address is success does not mean pushing harder than yesterday. I think pushing harder is not good. We never want to push harder in workouts, because harder doesn't mean fitter. Harder means that we're just setting ourselves up for injury. That's really what it means. You're not getting more fit by overrunning the intervals. You're just allowing your body the ability to get hurt. Success does not mean hitting arbitrary splits. So if you have to run on effort and then communicate that to your coach or communicate that to yourself. Success does not mean that every workout feels amazing. That's just not true. There's just like life, right? Like nothing's going to be sunshine and rainbows 100% of the time. You want harder days. You want the days that you're pushed a little bit. You want the days that kind of test your mental strength, and you want those wins. So when it all comes together during the taper and you're reviewing your training cycle, you're like, oh, hell yes, I was able to do all of this, even on the tough days, even on the great days. And that is going to prepare you for your race day. So some actionable takeaways are to set the goal for the workout ahead of time. I think that's up to you to set your goal for what you want to achieve in your workout ahead of time. Decide what the objective and subjective markers are, and then track your recovery and your next day performance, and then focus on patterns over perfection. And this could all be done in a running journal. This could all be done, in your mind if you want to. But I think the most important part is that before going into a workout, you really have a plan, you have an understanding of what you're doing, and then you stay focused and you execute that. You stay really subjective and you use all the markers that you have to your ability, how you felt, as well as the data to kind of tell the story for just that day. And remember, it's just a data point. We're being curious, and it doesn't mean that you failed anything. It doesn't mean that you crushed anything. Well, maybe it does, but it does give us just one indication of one day, and you can build on that. So the next time you finish a workout, I want you to pause and ask yourself, did I hit my goal? Did I challenge myself in the right way? Did I recover and learn something new? Success just isn't in the numbers, it's in patterns over time. So if you want help structuring your training so every workout counts towards your goals, whether it's a 5K or a Boston qualifying with buffer marathon, check out the show notes for ways to work with me. You can get coaching tips and join a community of runners who are learning to train smart, not just harder, at elevateyourrunning.com. Thanks everyone for listening this week, and I'll see you again next week.